Good morning. So happy to be here. Really excited and honored to be here. I've heard so much about this conference. This is actually my first time here. We're going to talk a lot of details. I'm going to tell you everything we're doing. But first, I want to show you what it's all about. We have a really exciting summer up ahead of us. We had an amazing 2016 Olympic campaign. And this right here is Maya Dorado in the 200 backstroke. Maya's story is a lot like so many of our athletes' stories. Started with our junior team program when she was 15 or 16 in about 2008. And then 8 years later, kind of worked with her through the entire time. She went to Stanford, and then after last year at Stanford, made the Olympic team. And honestly wasn't supposed to win the 200 backstroke. Really questionable if she would have medaled. And then we have some amazing finishes and stories, and so this is Maya's finish.
In lane 3, as Katinka Honsu looks for her fourth individual gold medal. Here comes Dorado. She's closed the gap a little bit more, but Honsu is driving to the wall. Here they come, and Honsu, now it's Dorado who gets the gold. Unbelievable. She kept at it, kept churning, and out touches Honsu by 6/100ths of a second.
Yeah, so what an amazing finish, what an amazing race. We had so many moments like that in 2016, and we're really hoping that we can have a few more of those this summer. This talk is about what the best swimmers in this country, and in many cases world history, are actually doing to apply data and turn it into performance. I assume that you guys are here because you know maybe a little bit about what USA Swimming has accomplished. You may know a little bit about swimming. But what I hope you get away from this talk is that it's not just about the data. It's about how we apply it. It's about our relationships with the athletes. And I think that's what we do best. You'll see that our data set and the way we capture it is not the most complicated. It's not this crazy technology, but I think we do a really, really great job in turning that into something people can actually use. When I first got to USA Swimming, I was a 22-year-old engineer fresh out of school. And my vision of sports science was experiments, testing, doing all these cool things, and then boom, that's the answer to making medals. And when I got there, we were doing a lot of research. We were doing a lot of tests. I would say we weren't very good in the application. We didn't have buy-in. And I think we really had to change our focus and focus on effectively communicating and delivering that data, but then really building trust. Because if we don't have that trust, we don't have that buy-in, they don't understand who we are and that we are equally invested, we're no different than people commenting on message boards or people watching on TV and making those comments and having data sets or supposed data sets. So that's what I hope you get away from this talk. So if you're a scientist or an analyst who has good data and maybe doesn't have it applied the way that you want, or if you're a team administrator or general manager and you are looking for that and don't see that connection, hopefully there's something for you here. I wouldn't be at this point in my career where I could speak at MIT Sloan Sports Analytics Conference without the help of a lot of people throughout my career, a lot of mentors and a lot of guidance. So I just want to take a few moments to thank some people. First, MIT Sloan for putting on this great event. Lindsay Solitar, who introduced me, for the recognition and for reaching out and for inviting me to speak. In USA Swimming, I've had the great fortune of working there for an amazing 18 years. And I never expected it to turn into this. In every great workplace, I mean, it's people and the environment, and that's what we have. This company has allowed me to grow up, essentially, and explore, be creative, and build my career. There's so many people in the organization that I've been with through these 18 years, but I just want to recognize a few. First, our current CEO and president, Tim Hinchy, who's been with us for the last 2.5 years, and Lindsay Mintenko, our current national team managing director, the first athlete and the first female in that position leading our national team. Also Dan McCarthy, who I've worked directly alongside with for 15 of those 18 years, came to his first conference, MIT Sloan Conference, in 2009, and has urged me to be here ever since. And then also I have two colleagues that are here, Larry Herr and Patrick Murphy. If you guys could just stand up and wave so everyone can see who you are. So these two guys, they work in, Patrick's our data analytics director, and Larry manages our performance database since the beginning of time. And it's been amazing working with them. They're more on the entire business. So from membership to performance, they work directly with us. I'm more in kind of directly in performance in our national team. And then I wouldn't be here today without our athletes and coaches. Absolutely not. I'm not going to overstate what data and what my job and my role in all this is. That's why I'm behind the computer and behind the camera, and they're the ones winning the races and doing all the hard work. But a few in particular, I'd like to call out, I think it's pretty telling of our culture that I think any one of our athletes would have said that I could share their story with you all. They're comfortable with the relationship I have and me telling their story, but I only asked a few of them if I could. And so in particular, a few of our world record holders and Olympic medalists, Olympic champions, Simone Manuel, Reagan Smith, Leah Smith, Nathan Adrian, Ryan Murphy. Super thankful. All of them are actually competing right now in one of our tune-up meets in Des Moines, Iowa. So I'm bummed I couldn't be here, but really happy I could be here right now. So my trajectory and path to where I am now is a little bit unique. I grew up in New York City and went to high school in Lower Manhattan. From there, I went to University of Virginia and I swam on their amazing swim team and graduated with an aerospace engineering degree. I did what every good engineering student was supposed to do. I took an engineering job, and I only lasted 9 months, but I wouldn't trade that for the world. That experience of working for this huge company that, with that kind of structure and that kind of professionalism, really made a huge impact on me. But I did trade an amazing engineering salary for a $1,000 a month internship, which my parents weren't very happy about. And in that time, I went from being totally over my head, trying to soak up everything, and organizing every single one of our endless VHS tape library, into this current role that I have, which is a little bit of everything. As you can see, what I'm known for is technique and video. And kind of advising our national team is how I generally describe it. But then everything from athlete and coach, any athlete and coach initiatives, athlete funding, mental health, just advocating for our athlete and coach population, to the Olympic team viral videos from 2012, Call Me Maybe, 2016 Carpool Karaoke. Somehow I get asked to do that, and I did all those edits. I think, as we move through this, hopefully you keep that theme in mind, that we are athlete first, and that is the key to our success. I think understanding how we do things is key to understanding how I do my job and how I can be effective, and the challenges in that, and how much harder we have to work to make it work. So our national team, our USA Swimming, is the governing body that manages all of competitive swimming. We have about 350,000 members nationwide. And our national team is spread out nationwide. About 100 plus athletes per year, which is a lot, obviously, for a small group to manage and look at. And as you can see, I mean, this map shows kind of where our national team is spread out, and the yellow dot, the yellow star, is where we are. So it kind of looks like everybody's trying to be as far away from us as possible. But that challenge, that geographic challenge, I think shows how important it is building those relationships are. Nobody's going to read an email just because I send it, just because I work for USA Swimming, and nobody's going to apply that just because of who I'm employed by, especially since I'm so far away, and I only see these athletes maybe less than once a month for a few days at a time. And those are the people that ultimately I'm working with, that ultimately focuses all towards the 2020 Olympics. Every 4 years, the Olympic team, which is about 45 to 50 athletes roughly, with a typical age range of around 17 to 30 years old, about half pro athletes, half amateur. So it's a pretty diverse population that I have to work with and try to connect with all around the country. But we all have one goal, and that is Olympic success. We've had really great fortune to have amazing Olympic success. Every Olympics since 1960, except for one, we have won the swimming medal count. And you could see over the last 5 Olympics, we have averaged over 30 medals. And that is that's about 1/3 of the entire US medal count. For the last 6 Olympics, we have been the US top medal winning sport. And we medal at an improbable about 50% of our opportunities, we're winning medals. And I say improbable because it's absolutely amazing, and it has to be statistically unlikely. The world is getting faster and faster. The margins of victory are getting tighter and tighter, and yet we have these amazing performances and still able to touch the wall in the top 3 and get on the podium. And as you can see, the margins are really small. Of those 33 medals in Rio, so many of them could have easily not been medals. And we understand and appreciate that. So 15 of them were less than half a second away from not medaling at all. And then 4 of them were really, really close to not medaling at all. And that would have changed the entire narrative of, well, I probably wouldn't be invited to talk here. This famous picture is Michael Phelps from 2008. This picture shows 1/100th of a second. 1/100th of a second, and Michael Phelps would not have won 8 gold medals and broke Mark Spitz's record for most medals in the Olympics. And that's what it comes down to in swimming. That's what we're in the business of. We're in the business of finding hundredths. And if I could simplify it as to what this is about and how we find hundredths, that process, that's what I hope to get across here: data, trust, and culture. And there are a lot of unique things that lend itself to how we can use it in swimming. For data, I essentially see my role as helping athletes and coaches find those opportunities using the data evidence to show what those opportunities are. So data is essentially our proof of change or proof of need to change. And we work equally, so timely and uncompromised accuracy. In terms of trust, we work equally hard at earning that trust. Again, all the things I alluded to is the distance challenge that we have geographically, where people are versus where I am, and how we separate ourselves from just the armchair quarterback or the backseat driver. How do we get people to understand and actually use the information that we have. And a lot of that is, I mean, fortunately, where I am now, I don't have to spend as much time earning that because of years and years now. But it still takes a lot of time. I'm doing the work. I love doing the work. And I love coming up with the information. But I'm also going to watch them swim at 6 a.m. Next week, I'm going to watch them swim at 4:30 a.m. And I love it. That's the part that makes it all gel, is being willing to be invested. And then culture. Our culture is super unique. I don't know how many other sports have this, but we are in a culture where our best athletes are very willing to help each other and help the next generation. That is a huge part of our sport. I have a hard time thinking that there aren't any current Olympians that had an experience, a personal experience with another Olympian when they were a kid as an age group swimmer. We have so much connection between our best in the history and the athletes growing up. But then it translates to when they all make the Olympic team. Competitors that are going for the same Olympic spots, that are going for the same Olympic medals, are more than willing to help each other succeed. This picture right here is one of my favorites ever from the 2012 Olympic pre-camp. This shows Olympic gold medalist Natalie Coughlin, Brian Lochte, Matt Grievers, along with Olympic medalists Elizabeth Beisel and Nick Thoman, helping then high schoolers and Olympic rookies Missy Franklin and Rachel Bootsma. And this is normal for us. That pure coaching, reaching across, and again, none of these guys actually train together, but that's a huge part of, and I won't deny that that's something that we try to foster, but it's also something that's just very natural in our sport. Our main data set, if you will, to make people better is just basic video. Every race consists of a series of strokes, and each stroke takes just over 1 second. And so improving just a little bit of each stroke adds up. That's improvement over the entire race. Like I was saying, actually measuring force and efficiency using tools in swimming is a lot harder than it sounds. So we don't have anything fancy. I wish we did. But we don't have anything that can turn it around fast enough, accurate enough for us to utilize. And so our main data source, like I said, is mostly subjective coaching, but based on basic principles of physics and fluid dynamics. And basically it's trying to turn this data, raw data video, into basic trends and understanding what people are doing, what people have done when they were younger, better, and when they weren't as good. And you could see there is so much happening in a video of one stroke. These are all people you should know too, hopefully going into this summer. Upper left, we have Caleb Dressel, who, if you don't know him by now, you will hopefully know him by the end of the summer, swimming fly. Upper right, Lily King, she's a gold medalist from Rio as well, and still moving in that direction. Ryan Murphy, Olympic champion backstroker, again, looking for a great 2020 campaign, and then arguably the greatest distance swimmer, or one of the greatest swimmers of all time, Katie Ledecky, in the bottom right here. And yeah, you can see there's so much happening here. It's amazing to look at, and there's so much opportunity in this. I'm not going to break down stroke for you here. We do quantify a few things, and one of which is stroke rate or tempo of each stroke within a race. So think of it as walking. If you're walking with a fast cadence or a slow cadence, and each step, each stride is the same distance, your cadence is going to determine your speed. And so just like that, rate is important in swimming, and all of our best athletes and coaches have some awareness of this. We've been using a custom software that we designed over 10 years ago, to collect this data. You can imagine how archaic that collection process is. But we are super data heavy. Our athletes are used to seeing it. If we can improve it, I would gladly welcome the help. But there is such a familiarity with this. And after each race, our athletes are getting these data plots. And there is, like, everyone looks at it a little bit differently. And this is the same race. I think we can come up with trends as to understanding what a great curve looks like. I think there's a possibility for that. But someone like Nathan Adrian, 2012 Olympic champion in the 100 free, he can look at this curve and figure out if it reflects what he was trying to do or if it could be better. So, like I said, there's a little bit of familiarity. That's one thing that we quantify. One simple way that we've applied this data, I'm just going to tell you a few stories. This is Leah Smith. Leah is currently 24 years old, trains at Arizona. She made the Olympic team when she was 21 in 2016 while going to school at University of Virginia, and won bronze in the 400 free to reach the podium alongside teammate Katie Ledecky. She's gone on since 2016. She went on to medal in the 400 free at 2017 Worlds, 2019 Worlds, and obviously hopes to continue that trend going into this summer. Leah's one of our hardest workers. There's no doubt about that. But from 2016 to 2018, her best time from that season, you could see, added a little bit of time each year. And then you look at the tempo. Correspondingly, her average tempo has slowed just a fraction. And we are talking fractions. This is in units of 1.21 seconds per cycle versus 1.22 versus 1.26 seconds per cycle. So you're talking hundredths of a second difference in the rate that she's moving her arms. But you put that over 400 meters or 4 minutes, and that adds up. And we saw that correspondingly, her tempos within the season over the years also tended to gravitate a little bit slower. You also see I put the number of races here because it shows you that we don't have much to work with during the year in terms of our data set to try to influence the end of the year. So that, again, goes to understanding what they're doing in training and what they're trying to do over the course of the year between these 4 samples of races that we have when they're fully training in season and have a lot going on. So last year we did talk about getting her rate up. I wish it were as simple as, hey, move your arms faster, and then she'll get better. But it's not that simple. So we did see she made some technical changes and improved her time, improved her tempo. Another thing that we measure is 15-meter mark. 15 and 35 meter time. The reason why we do that is because it's universally marked in every pool. There are reasons for every single of the different colors of the lane ropes, but about 1/3 of the way down the pool length, you see there's 2 buoys that are red, and those are universally marked. And we could use that to tell start speed, finish speed, how speed changes over the length. In 2013, Simone Manuel was high school junior, made our world championship team on a relay, getting 3rd place at nationals. Over the next 3 years, she improved and went on to become Olympic champion in 2016. First African American female to win Olympic gold. Amazing accomplishment. And then went on to improve her time and become world champion in 2017 and 2019 as well. In terms of 15-meter time, we saw that improve as well, and that was a very directed, intentional change. The delta in the overall time, you could see here, the 15-meter delta over the 3 different times that we have, and then seeing how much % of the improvement came in that first 15 meters, came in the 15% of the race. So 26%, 30% of her improvement each of those years came in those first 15 meters. Just for fun, I'll show you just kind of how she moves through this. That was 2013. This is 2016. Obviously, there are a few factors that play into it. She's 3 years older, 3 years stronger. but then, and the geometry of the block is also different too. But if I could walk you through a little bit of what, and just as, again, just for fun, I don't expect all you non-swimmers to be able to walk away and just do this start or understand what's happening here fully. But it's not just about the data. I have to work with the coaches to give them some direction on how to make this change. So looking at how she uses her arms off the block and the inflection of her back and her chin and her chest as she's moving initially off the block. Very, very different. Similarly, Reagan Smith, hopefully it's someone that you'll hear about this summer too. Last year as a 17-year-old, she broke the world records, became the fastest woman ever in the 100 and 200 meter backstroke. And you could see she dropped a lot of time doing that. Similarly to Simone, had a lot of opportunity. It was very easy to see off the starts. And then similarly, you could see a disproportionate amount of that improvement happening in a small portion of that first part of that race. Again, it's recognizing the data and then helping them make that change. This is Reagan on top in 2018, so last year, just to the bottom this year. Making changes on her start. You could see how we've changed how she sets up on the blocks, pulling in a little bit more, having her hips a little bit further out, using her arms a little bit more off that block too, and all resulting in that cleaner entry that you see right here at the bottom. And again, like we targeted 6 different times between February and July in order to make these changes. So I'm also doing the work in the trenches, helping that happen. And then to summarize, I feel like I kind of rushed through this last part, but I'm not used to giving 20-minute talks. This is how we turn data into performance. I mean, really, it starts with belief. In optimism, there is always a way to be better. We are given a lot of luxury to get to know the sport, to get to know each athlete. And we have the luxury of patience to apply data correctly. And then there's a great respect and understanding of what every coach and athlete is doing. So we have a great partnership with athletes and coaches. It's not just us telling them and expecting that change to happen. And then we have this amazing culture where our athletes have our best athletes sometimes in history have an understanding that they could be better and an open mind to trying new things, even though they are already the best that has ever been in some cases. So an expectation that our sport evolves. We have an amazing summer ahead, starting with our Olympic trials 3.5 months from now, Olympic Games 4.5 months from now. Hopefully we have so many more amazing stories. You could see just by the stories I tell, we have an amazing women's team, which is so awesome for our sport. Really strong women. Feel free to reach out and get in touch with me or reach out to Patrick and Larry while they're here. We love to get to know what's happening. That's why we're here. So if you want to connect, please feel free. I don't think we have time for Q&A, so I think we're just going to bypass that. But I'll be available, and again, feel free to email me. Have an amazing weekend. Thank you so much for being here.